Hello, my name is Mark Helm. I'm the author of Creating Wealth Through Self-Storage, and I'm the creator of the Self-Storage Quick Start Academy. In a few weeks, how to build your first self-storage facility will be released, taking a little longer than we anticipated, but it's an awesome course, a lot of modules, a lot of material. It's just a big course. Takes a little longer than I thought, but I think the wait will be well worth it for you all. It'll make a real difference. Thank you for being here. I'm out on the road right now looking at self-storage. By the time you see this, I'll be home with my bride and looking forward to it. It's been a long week. I cannot tell you how many times I've heard a conversation like, how could you pay that much for a self-storage facility? They had it listed for 5.25% cap rate. How in the world could you pay anything near that? And I say, well, I didn't pay a 5.25 cap rate, or at least I didn't pay that on my income stream. And they say, I still don't see how you did that. Well, we talk a lot about being able to add additional income streams to existing facilities. So let's actually take a look at it. So as I'm out looking at facilities this week, I'm seeing a lot of facilities that are very underutilized. So one of the first easy low-hanging fruit things to look at is truck rental. If I've heard it once, I've heard it 100 times. I'm talking to an owner or I'm talking to a manager and they say something like, well, we rented trucks once, but we had a lot of complaints and our customers were getting upset with us over something that the truck rental company did, and it wasn't worth it. It wasn't worth the hassle. And I usually smile, nod my head, agree with them, and understand. And then when we purchase the facility, the first thing we do is we put truck rental in. Why? Well, let's look at the numbers in a minute. If I put truck rental in, we're getting anywhere from $6,200 on the low end per year. And I have one facility that's generating over $65,000 worth of truck rental income to the facility. So let's just say, though, that this facility I'm looking at will generate $15,000 a year. Now, how will you know? Well, we asked the truck rental company. Now, we have a relationship with U-Haul, but any truck rental company is a good truck rental company for you. So talk to them, and they will tell you what they think you ought to be able to earn from there. We always frack it down a little bit, but very often it's in the $15,000 range. Well, $15,000 going to your bottom line, and believe me, that goes straight to your bottom line because in truck rental you have no cost in it. Sounds like $15,000 to your bottom line. But when I look at $15,000 to your bottom line, that's not what I see. I see $187,500. How do I see that? Well, that's the value of that $15,000 at an 8 cap. An 8 cap, you can't buy a storage facility today on an 8 cap. I know, but I don't think this low cap rate environment's going to last forever. I'm looking at down the road values. I'm using an 8 cap to determine future values because I don't think this compressed cap rate situation is going to hold for very long. So what does that mean? You see $15,000, I see $187,500. Well, let's look at the math. Well, nothing fancy here today. Let's just use an Excel spreadsheet. So let's say we have $15,000. And what's the value of that $15,000? Well, you divide it by the capitalization rate. So we said we're going to be conservative and use an 8 cap. So you divide it by 0.08. And there is $187,500. In other words, in an 8 cap, that $15,000 has that value, $187,500. Well, there's $187,500. But let's don't stop there. Usually, on the type of facilities we're looking at if they have retail sales, usually those retail sales are very underutilized. Sometimes they're not, but very often they are. What is a very conservative number that we can put in there for retail sales? Well, for us, $250 a month is a very low retail amount. If we're only getting that amount, odds are we're having a conversation with the manager. I've got one manager that in a 12-month period, you can count on one hand the number of times she rents a unit and doesn't sell a disc lock. Disc locks cost $13 to $15 in our facilities. They cost us about $250. Anyway, retail sales. So let's say we get $250 a month. Well, that's only $3,000 a year. But when I look at it, I don't see $3,000. I see $37,500. What? Well, again, let's go look at the math. So let's look at the math here. So what did I say? $250 a month times 12 months, that's $3,000. So if we took $3,000, again, divided by our capitalization rate, there's $37,500. Let's look at another low-hanging fruit. And this is my favorite. And I'll guarantee you, if you've been out looking at self-storage facilities recently, particularly the smaller mom and pops, you will have seen this over and over again. The agent, the owner, proudly announced to you that they are at 92% physical occupancy. You shake your head, smile, and say, very good, great job. Then when you look at the numbers, you will see, yes, they're at 92% physical occupancy, but they're really only at 80% or 78% economic occupancy. I love that. I love finding those because that is found money in 60 days, 90 days or less to us. What am I talking about? Well, let's say you're looking at a 62,000 square foot facility. And let's say that I can close that gap 7%. In our facilities, we typically run 2.5% to maybe 4% behind economic occupancy, behind physical occupancy. There will always be some slow pace. But if you're on top of your management, if your manager is on top of those collection calls, they don't get that far apart. If those units are not paying, we auction them and get them out and replace them with tenants that will pay. In fact, in our facilities, if the manager's ever more than 5% behind physical occupancy, those managers know we're going to be having a conversation. That means they're not on top of their collection. At least that's what it means to us. So let's say you have a 62,000 square foot facility. There is a 12% gap between physical occupancy and economic occupancy. Well, let's just say we're going to close that gap 7%. 7% of 62,000 square feet is 4,690 square feet. In other words, there's 4,690 square feet more of self-storage is going to be generating income. How much income? Well, you look at your unit mix page to tell you. Let's say on this 62,000 square foot facility, and when we look at the unit mix page, this facility is generating $9.35 a square foot. So in other words, I've got 4,690 square feet generating $9.35 a square foot, and all I've done is get on top of the collection costs and replaced non-paying tenants. Well, let's look at the math on this. Well, I did the math in my head. 7% of 62,000, slightly less than 4,690, but let's take our 4,690. Let's say it's more than 7 of the 12%. And let's say, what did we say, $9.35 a square foot? There's $43,852 more dollars. But those are real dollars to the bottom line. That's real money coming into the bottom line. So there's $43,851 of income that will be yours that seller wasn't getting, simply because you're on top of how you manage a facility. But yes, you guessed it, when I look at that, I don't see $43,851. In fact, I see $548,144. That's what I see when I look at that. How do I see that? Well, let's look at the math. Here's the math again. Let's see. Divided by 0.08, $548,144. Well, let's see what we have total here. $773,144 worth of value in the additional income streams that we feel we can generate looking at that facility. There's $773,144 of value that you can generate that seller isn't generating. Now, don't go paying dollar for that income. But you can pay something for it. You can pay something for it. How much can you pay for it? Well, that depends. That depends on what kind of mood you're in that day. But more importantly, that depends on your business strategy. What do you have to pay to have that facility generate the return that you have predetermined in your business strategy? I don't know what it is for you. I can plug this facility with that additional $773,144 in, and I can see what I can pay to hit our returns that we must hit. Also, don't use the seller's expense numbers, use your expense numbers, but usually, unless they're way off, they're fairly close. We tend to pay a little more in expenses simply because our salaries tend to be a little higher, but maybe we won't pay as much in advertising. But that's a clear-cut example in this fictitious property of how I can look at the same facility that the seller's looking at, where I can see $773,000 more value out of the same facility, same unit mix, same everything. That's how you do it. So, I'm out on the road looking at properties this week. Next week, we'll look at a real property, and I'll show you this in real life on a property we've been looking at. My name's Mark Helm. I'm the author of Creating Wealth Through Self-Storage, and I'm the creator of the Storage World Analyzer. As soon as we finish this video, I'm jumping on a computer call with our coder to work out what I think are the last bugs on this module, this construction and expansion module that we'll be releasing. So we'll run another program through it. If it works like I think it is, we should be releasing it very, very soon. So thank you for your patience. Thank you for watching this. My name's Mark Helm. See you later.